Greetings to you. This is Brandon, the freight broker with Alliance Logistics. We hope this message finds you in great health and spirit on this beautiful Monday morning. We are very excited to get started into another great week, a week that's filled with obstacles, challenges, and opportunity. We understand that you're probably just as excited to get started, so we're going to get right into the business of the day, and what we're going to be talking about is establishing freight rates. Now, when we first came into the business, I was under the impression that, you develop a relationship with a shipper, you call them up, you get them to allow for you to give them a quote on a particular lane. You give them a quote, and, they said okay, and you started to move their freight. Well, it didn't work like that. There was a lot of hard slogging to try and figure out a rate that worked for the shipper, and that took some time. It took a lot of quotes that we were given to the shipper and thinking that we were going to get that particular lane, and it didn't work that way. So it was about trying to figure it out, trying to establish what worked for him, what would work for us, and what would work for the trucker or the carrier. And that took a lot of hard work. To develop a continuity with that shipper, to understand what it was that he wanted when it came down to prices for his freight to move from point A to point B. And what we also have to understand is that shippers, most of them have been doing this for a very long period of time. They're very experienced. They know exactly what it is that they want to pay. And it's up to us to get on the same sheet of music, so to speak, with that shipper to understand what it is that he wants. And of course, we're not trying to give away the farm and to move his freight for very cheaply. No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but we are trying to get closer to what it is that he wants. Because we know that if we get in the neighborhood of what he wants, then we can help ourselves, help our carrier, and of course help the shipper. But we have to figure that out, and that takes time. There are so different resources out there that are available to you that kind of help you figure out what a solid rate is. The load boards, Internet Truck Stop, DAT, Get Loaded. There are different resources out there, but what I found in my experience is that these are not necessarily exact numbers that each shipper are just going to say, okay, well, yeah, we'll give you that lane because that number is that's a good number. No, it doesn't work that way, and it definitely does not work to simply go with the $2 per mile on a given lane, because what we have to understand is that regionally rates are different when it comes down to southeastern region as opposed to the northeastern region, western region, southern region. All of those are different when it comes down to the rate in that particular lane. So we have to read some more when it comes down to understanding freight rates. Read as much information as you can on that particular topic, and not only on that topic, but on the freight broker industry period, because what you'll start to understand is there are a lot of different things that affect the rate. Fuel affects the rate. Time of year affects the rate. So it's a lot of different things that go into the rate. And the more you are aware of what affects the rate, then you know what you need to do to establish a solid rate. You know the different variables that are involved, and then you can kind of look at that whole picture and establish a good rate. But it takes time to develop that continuity with the shipper. So don't get discouraged. If a shipper happens to give you a few lanes to bid and you don't win any of them. That's how it works sometimes. And it works like that until you figure it out. Because what our job is as a freight broker or freight agent is to establish a rate that works for the shipper, that works for your customer, the carrier, and also works for you as a company. Because one thing is for certain, if you give a rate that works for the shipper and it works for the carrier, but it does not work for you, then you won't be in business for very long. So we want to definitely spend our time and get better and better and better at being able to establish a rate that works for all parties involved. Because the whole idea is to be able to provide a great competitive rate, not a cheap rate, a competitive rate. Because when you start providing cheap rates just to get the freight, then you're polluting your market, and you don't want to do that, because then you'll start to be recognized as the broker or the agent that always has cheap freight, and you won't develop relationships with carriers that are going to be long lasting when you're doing that. So be very mindful. Put a lot of thought into your rate, because that is going to take you a long way when you're able to establish a good rate that works for all entities involved. So that's what we wanted to talk with you today about. The freight rate is not an exact science. It's something that you're going to have to figure out as you continue to go. And yes, those resources are helpful. Those load boards, Internet Truck Stop, DAT, those are helpful, but they're not necessarily exact. They're not going to work for every situation. So it's going to take you being well read on your profession, and being professional and always looking for more and more information where that's concerned. And sooner or later you'll start to get better and better and better at it. And then it'll come to the point where the shipper is not necessarily so concerned about the price to move the load. He's more concerned about establishing a relationship with you. He's established that relationship with you. He knows that you're going to get the job done, and it becomes more so about that than it does the rate. And once you get to that point, you've done some good things to get to that point. So continue getting better and better at providing a service, because that's what it boils down to. That's what they're ultimately concerned about. Their freight getting from point A to point B, it getting there on time, and you providing a great service, making sure that they're aware of what's going on with their freight as it moves. So that's what we wanted to discuss with you today. We hope that you find it helpful. If so, please click like at the bottom of the YouTube page. Subscribe to our page. We'll continue to make these videos in hopes that they'll be helpful to you. We believe that if we help enough people get what they want, we'll get all that we want. So we thank you so much for your time. Go to our website, www.alliancelogistics.net, if you happen to be a carrier, and sign up with us. You can sign up with us and we'll send you out a packet, and you can go ahead and get on our preferred list of carriers so that when we have loads, you'll be the first to get those loads. So again, we thank you so much for your time. Freight agents, you can also go to our website, sign up there, and we'll be in contact with you to discuss the opportunity. Again, thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day. We wish you very well in all that you endeavor to do. And thank you, and have a wonderful day.